Well, good morning, everyone. My name is MightyStream, and I'm going to do our April the 27th just for today in a meditation. I hope that you're doing well this morning. And I will say I'm doing just fine. I'm not great. I'm doing just fine. I want to dedicate this to my late sister, Jamie Marie. She passed away from pulmonary embolism. April 27th of year 2005. And it is amazing to me that I was able to stay clean through the loss, and I have survived these 19 years without my favorite sister alive. Okay, so the title of the April 27th meditation is Recognizing and Releasing Resentments. The triple R. Okay. Recognizing and releasing resentments. It says, we want to look our past in the face, see it for what it really was, and release it so we can live today. That comes from the basic text, page 29. Many of us have trouble identifying our resentments when we were new in recovery. There we sat with our fourth step in front of us, thinking and thinking, finally deciding that we just didn't have any resentments. Perhaps we talked ourselves into believing that we weren't so sick after all. Such unwitting denial of our resentment stems from the conditioning of our addiction. Most of our feelings were buried deep. After some time in recovery, a new sense of understanding develops. Our most deeply buried feelings begin to surface, and those resentments we thought we didn't have suddenly emerge. As we examine these resentments, we may feel tempted to hold on to some of them, especially if we think they are justified. But what we need to remember is that justified resentments are just as burdensome as any other resentment. As our awareness of our liabilities grows, so does our responsibility to let go. We no longer need to hang on to our resentments. We want to rid ourselves of what's undesirable and set ourselves free to recover. Just for today, when I discover a resentment, I'll see it for what it is and let it go. Let's take a moment of silence followed by the we version of the Serenity Prayer. Moment of silence now, please. Thank you. God, grant us the serenity to accept the things that we cannot change, the courage to change the things that we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Just for today, please and thank you. Wow, 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 wow. What a beautiful meditation here. Talking about resentments. What a beautiful meditation. Recognizing and realizing or releasing, right? Releasing resentments. Recognizing and releasing resentments. And I can say realizing them too, right? Because sometimes we think we don't have any. And we realize that I'm not as okay as I thought I was with this. And a lot of times the difference between walking in the disease of addiction versus walking in the atmosphere of recovery, the difference is that now we're not flipping things to our liking. We're not using drugs to change the perception of our reality. So I can understand initially because we numbed a lot of things. I know I did. I numbed a lot of feelings. When I got clean, initially, the only thing that I can really truly remember that bothered me was the fact that I was admitting that I was an addict. I did not like that word. I did not like that word at all. But as far as resentments went, I really, if it was justified, I didn't consider what I would feel or think about a person as a resentment. I didn't have to be bothered with them. I didn't have to talk nicely about them. I didn't have to make other people think that they were good and they weren't. I wouldn't consider it character assassination because I was telling the truth about it. If it was justified, I didn't consider it resentment. But didn't I think about it? I thought about it regularly. And if I saw them, I thought about it even more. They were renting space in my head for free. And so I found out that just because I didn't want to call it a resentment didn't make it less of a resentment. Repeat that with me. Just because I don't want to call it a resentment doesn't make it less of a resentment, justifiable or not. Justifiable resentments are just as burdensome as the ones that aren't. You know why? Because it's rescinding the situation over and over and over to ourselves, thinking about it again and again and again, getting upset about it again and again and again. It is what it is. And so I got to the point where I realized, not only do I have resentments, I'm pretty much full of resentments. Yeah. Have you ever done something and the main reason you're doing what you're doing is because you don't like someone? Your motive is not right. You think, I'm going to do this and I'm really going to get under their skin. Oh, they thought they hated me then. They're going to hate me for real now. Right? Oh, my goodness. And it's so easy to get, I would be sitting here lying if I told you it's not easy to get back into that thinking. Let me tell you something. Just because I'm clean doesn't make it impossible for me to have a resentment. Just because I've been clean for 3 decades and a little more doesn't mean that I don't have resentments that come up. Let me tell you what the difference is in, let's just say, 20 years ago compared to my 30 plus years clean today. I've learned my lesson. My experience, strength, and hope has shown me not only will a resentment almost get a person killed, right? It will almost land me behind bars and disconnected from all of the people that I love. And just because none of that happens physically doesn't mean it doesn't happen spiritually. And usually the person that dies spiritually is me on the inside. And usually the person that suffers from isolation is myself, right? It's like living in a self-made prison. And so we want to release resentments. We want to recognize them for what they're worth, and we want to release them today so that we can really be free. But here's the ticket. It says here, as our awareness of our liabilities grow, so does our responsibility to let go. I want to say, so does our responsibility to recover, right? As I develop an awareness of my liabilities, I also have the responsibility of correcting that which can be corrected. It's very important as you begin to rediscover yourself and discover that you have resentments. You have to see it for what it is and let it go. It's a resentment is always based on something from the past. Always. Fear is based on something in the future or in the moment. You can be fearful, but a resentment is rescinding something that has been minted negatively in our minds, our hearts, our bodies, our whole selves. And we keep reliving that over and over through the thought process. Sometimes through vocalizing it as well over and over. There's nothing worse than hanging out with somebody that cannot stop talking about everyone that had ever hurt them, right? They're talking and they go on and on about everything from the past. And before you know it, you'd have gotten so fed up listening to them because they haven't done a single thing to make themselves better or make that situation better, right? Because what? They think they're justified. Hopefully, that's not you. Hopefully, we're not chasing people away with all of our horror stories today, right? We want to be mindful to share, but also share the time. My name is MightyStream. I've enjoyed talking to you today. I hope that you'll have a beautiful day on purpose.